Hi, I'm Attorney Vincent Davis, and I've been fighting CPS for over 35 years. Through my years of experience, I've gained invaluable insights that I'm ready to share with you. If you're a parent or a caregiver or a relative, we need to talk. I'm offering a new opportunity for you to speak with me on a one-on-one basis. Ask me any questions, and I'll provide you with the insight you need to take steps in your CPS case. Members get everything they need to gain confidence and the knowledge that they need to support necessary to truly fight back. And as a special thank you for attending, I have a special offer just for you. Don't miss out, join us, and let's take that next step together. I'll see you at the question and answer event. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Attorney Vincent Davis, and I have a very special guest tonight, Miss Joy Bender. Now, she's going to have a story that I think you're going to want to hear. Good evening, Joy. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Joy, where was you were involved in the CPS case?
Yes.
Okay. But you weren't the parent, right?
No, I was the parent.
Oh, I thought you were a child in foster care.
I am a child in foster care, but I also have children that had a similar thing that happened also.
Okay, so are you in foster care right now?
No, no.
Okay. So you're out of the system.
Yeah, but I grew up in foster care. I went through from birth to 4 years old. I went through 7 foster homes.
Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about this evening. May
Okay.
I ask how old you are?
I'm 40 years old.
Okay. So you've been out of foster care for a long time.
Yes.
Okay. Where were you in foster care?
And Sacramento, California.
And how old were you when you went in, and how old was it when you got out?
So when I was all I know is that from 0 to 4, from birth to 4 years old, I remember my last placement was my 7th placement when I was 4 years old, and that was with my adopted mother now. And she was my 7th placement, like I said, and I didn't get adopted until I was 8 years old.
Okay, so did you ever live with either of your parents?
No, not
Okay,
that I
so
know of. Not that I know of.
okay, so as far back as you can remember, you lived in foster care.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know why you were taken from your parents?
Because of drugs.
Okay.
My mom never tried to get us back supposedly, but I really don't know the real story of really what happened.
Did you know that there is a way that you can find out the full story?
That's what I was just gonna, that's what you're answering one of my questions. That's what I was going to ask you.
Okay. Well, let me tell you which way you can, how you can do that. You can just go to the court clerk's office for where your case was in Sacramento. Over there, I think it's called Power Inn Road.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I've done several cases in Sacramento. And you go there and you show with your ID and tell them you want a copy of your file. You can
I
get,
asked that, excuse me, sorry. I asked them and they said it was a closed case, and I already asked them that, and they said that they couldn't bring my file up.
well, maybe because it's too old, but I think they would still have it in archives and or it would be microfished or copied some way. But they still have a copy of your file. And you can get a copy of your file, all the reports, all the minute orders, and see what happened.
I would really like to know that. That'd help me out mentally because I've had a lot of problems and issues growing up because of being in foster care, and I've been mentally and physically abused in the system. And when I came to live with my mom, I call her my real mom because she's been there for me. And it took me a long time to get close to her because of all the stuff that I went through as a child. Um, it wasn't easy growing up at all. I've had a, I can say like when I was a little girl, I used to bite myself when I was in foster care. I remember the last placement. I can remember the last placement that I was in. The foster dad and the foster brothers were picking on me, and they got me in trouble even though I didn't do anything. And the foster dad came in and said I hit him even though I didn't. They actually hit me, and then they said that I'm a stupid foster kid. Nobody's gonna want to adopt me. And then I started crying, bawling my eyes out, and I just looked up at the ceiling, just asking if the lady that dropped me off here, if she could come back and pick me up. And then I opened the door and I see them all giggling and laughing, and I just was wondering to myself, what was so bad that I couldn't have that, and what did I do so bad as a kid that I couldn't have that?
Well, you mentioned something earlier that you said you were abused, not, and you also said you never lived with your parents. So, who was abusing you while you were in foster care?
The foster parents.
Now, I know this may be difficult to talk about, but what type of abuse did you go through?
Physical and sexual abuse. I remember being touched as a little girl. I remember being hit and pushed. I had a lot of bruises. I remember in one of the foster homes, I could remember that me and my sister was 15 pounds of nourished and I was 10 pounds of nourished, and we had to go to the hospital. I can only imagine the reason why they moved us around so much, because from 0 to 4 and going through 7 foster homes, that's a lot of foster homes between a child's first development of our lives. You know what I mean? And I don't remember exactly who the foster parents were, but I have like like pictures that I remember. Um, I just remember being scared as a little girl, and just knowing that like these people were mean to me, adults were mean to me, and I didn't understand why. And just looking at everybody else, not understanding what I was going through or why I was going through this, and knowing that I was different than everybody else that I was around.
Well, what happened at 4? You said this all happened between 0 and 4. What happened at 4?
4 years old was we went to it was in El Dorado Hills. We were that was our sixth placement, and a lady came. They said a lady was going to come visit us. And she there's two sets of sisters, me and my sister and another sister. And I remember thinking like, how I need to be perfect so she likes me, and so this might be the right family. This might be the right one. When I maybe this mommy and daddy will want me, and I just need to put on my best behavior. But at that time too, when I was 4, I was thinking like, I didn't want to have to go through this all over again, trying to get used to somebody and trying to trust somebody. But at the same time, I was like, Joy, you can do this. And so I went downstairs, and that's when I met my foster mom, Catherine Bender, my foster mom, sorry. And my sister was sitting on her lap. And then my sister looked at my foster mom, and she was like, um, I told her that everything was going to be okay. But then we went to go live with her. And at that time, everything was okay with my foster mom. But then stuff started happening in the home. But it just was, there's like police reports and stuff, but it was never reported to CPS, because if it was reported to CPS, we would have been taken away again. My foster mom wanted us to have a family, but she was being abused by her husbands, and he was abusing us. And then he finally left her. And then my mom ended up getting with this other dude named Greg Martin. Oopsie, I'm sorry. You guys told me not to talk about names. And
Right. No names,
no
please.
names. I'm so sorry. Ended up getting this other dude, and they ended up getting married. But he was my foster dad for a while, and he also uh, ended up molesting me, and he also also beat my mom. And there are reports about that. And then he finally left when I was in 7th grade, and then my life started turning in a better direction, because at that time I wasn't scared anymore. But for all those years, we were terrified. In school, it was hard for me to learn in school, because I always thought that I didn't know if I was going to be taken away again or something was going to happen. I know I was always crying in school. I know that me and my sister at that time, I know that we were the only foster kids, because you just can tell you're the different person out of all your friends, and you know. And always thought when I was little, like, why am I not as smart as the other kids? And I didn't understand why I couldn't get, I couldn't. be as smart as the other kids were. And I always thought I was stupid, but later on, until I got older, then I realized that it wasn't my fault. It was what I was going through at that time, that I couldn't concentrate in school. And I just am trying to be our voice for foster children because we don't have a voice. We're not able to talk about what happens to us. And I'm just tired of I've learned a lot about the system and what they do, and I've had a lot of experience with situations that have happened to me after I not graduated, after I became an adult. And it's just like I've been following you for a minute and I've been listening to your stories, and I just feel like we need to change the system, and something needs to be done. And I don't think it's fair because there's a lot of times where I just wanted to die and I didn't want to be here anymore. And I just wanted to give up because of all the things that kept on happening. And but I didn't because I believe in God, and I know that He's the one that's kept me alive. Um, and I know that I don't want any other foster kids out there to be scared to tell what's going on in their life. I feel like when we go to foster care, we're not able to tell our social workers the truth because I've been threatened many times by foster parents saying that if I told, they're not going to believe me anyway because I'm just a stupid foster kid. And so I was always scared to tell my social worker at the time what was going on in my life or what was going on. So I never spoke up. I just kept it quiet. So now I'm 40 years old, and now I want to tell my story and I want to put it out there. And I was scared the last time I talked to you. I was nervous because I didn't know what to say. Because I was scared because I kind of like jumped from one place to the other. But I'm ready for this because it needs to happen. I know, like you said, you've been fighting CPS for 35 years now. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And so I was thinking, you've been fighting him for 35 years, and I'm 40 years old. So I was like it's like everything's meant to be, you know. And I was like, so he's 35 years. I have 40 years experience, you know, going through the other side of the fence. But it's just like I know there's not very many of us left out there in the world because nobody knows what ends up happening. I know the statistics. I followed the statistics. I know that a majority of us end up dead or end up in sex trafficking or end up in jail. And a lot of people don't care what happens to us. And I know that there is a system that needs to be stopped. I know the government picks on us a lot. And they know like what's going on with us before we know what's going on with us. And I didn't know that I was part of this system, that Child Protective Service. I didn't have any idea that I grew up in this system at all until I got older. Um, I've had a lot of things that have happened. Like when I was in sixth grade, I found out that my birthday was December 15th, 1983, instead of March 15th, 1984. So from kindergarten to fifth grade, I knew my birthday as March 15th, 1984. Um, I haven't seen my real birth certificate at all. I know my birth name was Joy Christine McIntosh, and then from first to fifth grade it was Joy Elizabeth Haig, and then from junior high it was Joy Elizabeth Martinez, and then Joy Elizabeth Bender. I've never been married, you know. So my identity and trying to find out who I am and what my purpose in life was, I've been fighting myself for so long, trying to figure out what my purpose was here, and now I know what my purpose is here. Um, I want to start foster children's lives matter, just like Black Lives Matter and women's rights matter. And when Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King, this is where I need to start. And I'm just so thankful that you're giving me this opportunity to talk to you, so I could figure out what my next step in life is to help us children. That I'm still a child. I'm still that little girl that was in that system that was created, and we need change, you know. And people, I don't know. I throughout my whole life, I was always trying to figure out who I looked like, where I belong, And you're always seeing people that you see in your life. You're always finding out when you go growing up in school, oh, if your parents played the sports, they'll end up following in your footsteps. Or every time somebody asks me a question, do you have cancer or do you have this or this? And I can't tell them because I don't know any of my my I guess like my parents. I don't know like what their ethnicity is. I don't know what their like I don't know who my dad is, but I did meet my biological mom when I was 18, but I do not have a relationship with her at all. Because it was really hard for me to talk to her. Um, but to this day, I still don't know who my father is. I did do my ancestry, but that tells you just like your like ethnicity and your heritage. But I don't know anything with what would help me in my future if there's lung cancer or anything that So every time I go to the doctors, I'm just like no, 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 no. Even though there could be something, but I don't know. Um, I just know that we get taken advantage of and used for money, and then we are thrown out at 18 years old and we are defenseless. Um,
Were you thrown out of the system when you were 18?
um, I got put back in foster care when I was 17, so it was my senior year of high school. So yes, I did. Um, because I
Were,
didn't. Sorry, go
but,
ahead.
but were you adopted at some point and your case closed?
We were adopted when I was adopted when I was 8 years old, and the case it was closed. But then um, there wasn't. I know that when that person, my mom, adopted dad came in the picture, I know that CPS got called again because of the molestation. But then I think it was closed again because him and my mom ended up getting a divorce. But then I got put back again in foster care. I was ward of the court my senior year of high school. Um, but I still graduated high school and went going through two foster homes. So, and then after that, I just went out into the big world thinking I could find love is what we go looking for and wanting the stability and I didn't know what it was for so long that I was missing the bonding. I never was bonded with my foster mom or my adopted mom. I never could bond. So I went out looking for it. Um, until I had my own children, I know what that bond was and what I've been missing for so long. Because I was diagnosed with bipolar and depression and PTSD for all the things that I have been that I went through. And every negative thing that was going on in my life, I tried to turn around with a positive. Um, so I ended up playing sports and being really good at sports actually, and ended up trying to turn my life around. And then my life got put in another direction because I could never get close to my adopted mother because of when I came to live with her. I already had a block up. It was too late, and I didn't understand why I couldn't get close to her. And then um, having to figure out children and going through child care and child development and looking through all that, I know that from 0 to 5 is the most crucial time of a child's life, and that's where they learn how to be independent and secure and like they can stick up for themselves. Me, I wasn't like that at all. I'm always trying to go out of my way for people, trying to do things for people that have never done anything for me, trusting people, putting myself out there where I am so nice to everybody that I treat them like you had treat your family, and then I end up getting hurt in the long run. Um, I just want to have justice for a system that I found out what children rights are. I didn't know that as a child I had rights. Um, and I finally looked up those rights are, and I know what those rights are now. And my whole thing is if you're a system that is trying to protect children, and then you have these rights, wouldn't they want to follow those rights instead of putting us through so many homes? And I don't understand why the system is so bad where I follow CPS reports now about the receiving home in Sacramento County where there's not enough homes and there's not enough people. And my whole thing is just because you have not been in trouble with the law doesn't mean that you could be a foster parent. And there's people they advertise foster care. There's incentives to foster care. I see it all over the place. You can get money for taking care of a foster kid. You get free this, free that, and it's just like it's like um, promoting a child, like promoting child trafficking is to me the way I look at it. And I just want everyone to know that it's like it's really important for us children that haven't had the foundation and haven't had the stability and haven't had the normal life, as you can say, normal as everybody else has. And so you would think that as a community and as people that did have feelings and they would care more about our feelings and care more about what happens to us, but we don't have a voice, we don't have nobody. It seems to me like nobody cares what goes on or what's happened to me or what happens to the next child that's in the home that's getting abused right now that nobody knows about. I don't think that the government takes a full responsibility in their hands and tries. And just because we were adopted and that our case is closed, feel that through growing up with foster parents and then being adopted stuff that we have to lie to our social workers. We have to tell them that everything's perfect when it's not. Um, and then we're defenseless. Like one of the foster homes that I remember, I was my hair got pulled, so I had to clean poop out of the toilet. And it wasn't my poop. And then I had to get my mouth washed out with soap. And then got my hair pulled all the way down the hallway and thrown in the pool, and I almost drowned. I don't even know how I made it to the end of to the side of the pool, but I did. I was crazy. I saw the light, and then I had to go to bed that night smelling like poop. And that was just in one of the foster homes. I remember it was things like that. And then another thing is just not being able to remember, like not being able to experience when I was able to, when I first started walking, or when I was potty trained, or when what was my first word. Things like my children have had, that I've been able to witness. And it's taken me a long time to be able to come to where I'm at right now and to be able to talk to you, because for so long I just wanted to give up and not I didn't think I had a story, but I do. And I know that I want to change the system. And I feel like you're like my guardian angel.
Have we talked before?
I don't know.
Because earlier you said you were nervous the first time that we talked.
Oh yeah,
That-
because I was supposed to go live, but I thought I needed a laptop and a microphone to be able to go live with you. I didn't know I could just use my phone. So that's why we didn't end up talking, because I thought that had to have that stuff. I didn't know I could use my phone. So that's the reason why.
I see.
And then I was mad at myself because I was like, you just blew it, Joy. Like you need to, and then I'm like, you know what? Don't give up, Joy. Just keep, keep writing them and keep trying to talk to them. And then, um, sorry, my memory is like, I forget names very well. I have to be repeated a couple times. What was the producer's name?
Grace.
Grace. Okay. She's very nice, by the way. She's very, very, very nice. I'm like, when she said, I wrote you again, she said, I'll keep in contact with you. So when I saw my phone today and it was ringing, I was like, oh, I'm not letting this go by. I'm going to finally get my voice out there, because for so many years, I've seen psychiatrists, I've seen therapists, and they're like, Joy, you need to get your voice out there. But I'm like, how? I'm like, how do I get my voice out? How do I tell my story? What do I do? And other people were like, Joy, you don't have a case. Nobody, you don't, if you would have had a case, it would have happened by now. And people just not believing in me. And I believe in me. So I know that if I just, the only way that I would ever give up is if I was dead, and I'm not dead. So I'm not giving up. And I feel like you and me can do a lot to change the system.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, I've been kind of waiting or searching, maybe even, for a former foster child to contact me and talk about their experiences, in foster care. I was talking to someone about this today, a social worker attorney. Uh, she and I had a trial today against each other. And at a certain point during the day, we were talking about old times. And I said, "Hey, do you remember when I used to represent children as a panel attorney way back when? Um, you were appointed to represent children and parents and relatives, you know, in different cases. Now it's so specialized. Only children's attorneys represent children, and only parents' attorneys represent parents and relatives. Um, but in 1989, 1990, around that time, you were appointed to represent children too. And it was a very interesting perspective because on some cases you would represent children, on some cases you would represent parents. And it gave you that, you got to see both sides of the fence. But today, at least in California, they have just a minors counsel's firm. And generally, most of the people, are just minors counsel. They have never represented parents and vice versa. So, but from my time representing children, I realized, that things aren't what we think with
Mhm.
children in foster care.
Not at all.
And the first court that I worked in a court with a judicial officer who basically trained me how to do these cases, but he required something if you represented a minor. He required that you, as the attorney, go see the child
Hmm.
before before every court hearing. And you had to come back and you had to give a report and you had to see the child privately and talk to the child and see how things were going. I'm not sure that's done all the time now. And it doesn't sound like it was that done at all in your case. You were in a totally different county. Um, but yeah, I learned that things aren't as what it appears to be.
This is what I try to visualize is try to put yourself in an environment where you don't know nobody. You're around strangers your whole entire life, and see how, and then you're forced to tell somebody that's your new mom, that's your dad, and then you're knowing everybody's looking at you differently, knowing, oh, when did you get these kids? So you're already labeled, and so we already have a I don't know, not an ego, but we're already labeled as a foster kid, and that's like you're already labeled as different. Growing up, people make fun of you. Oh, they don't want you hanging out with that kid because they're already messed up. Those parents, you know what I mean? And it's like you're always being judged, and it's like, do you have any idea what I've been through? Do you even know what it's like to be in? It's like taking you or anybody else and putting you in another country where you don't know nobody. You know what I mean? And having somebody like you and want you. So I know, like, me being not their biological child, I always told myself no matter what, I was always going to treat everybody's children or my biological children that I have now the same as I would want to be treated. And I was brought up in the church, and I think that's what saved my life because it says, "Do unto others that you want done unto you," and it's like I would never want anybody to feel the pain that I felt, or anybody to go through that, because it's the having something control you and you have no control over it, and then having it being turned against you later on in life. But you did everything you were supposed to do. You followed the steps. You did everything you were supposed to do, and it still backfired in your face. It's like, when do I win? When is it my turn to? When is it my turn to be happy? When is it my turn to be cared about or wanted? And that's why I think it's me here now talking to you, is now it's because it's time for us to be able to stand up, and not only in the United States, it's everywhere. It's in all other countries, foster care and orphanages. And it's like, this is a huge thing that everyone needs to come together, and you need to treat every kid like it was yours. And that's what they don't do. They do it it's a $1 trillion operation. I already know that. I know all the and ifs about it. and it's not fair to us anymore. And then we're kicked out at 18. We don't have no family, no people that love us or care for us. And then I I had to learn the hard way with my mom. I had to go back to her, even though it took me from 18 to 27 years old. So that long to be able to go back to her and finally find out that she really did care about me. And then through that whole time, I found out that there was an ugly world out there that I wouldn't want anybody or any other child out there to have to experience. But then I also met children out there that were in foster care that were living in tents, you know what I mean, and nobody cared. And and um I just feel like it's time for us to have a voice, and for people to know that, hey, right is right and wrong is wrong. There's only one right way and only wrong way. There's no in between.
I have this happened a couple of years ago up in a case in Northern California. I realized and found out that the social worker used the foster parent to control the minor and have the minor testify certain ways during the interview with with the social worker and during testimony at court. And it was always something that I suspected, but I came to realize and came back or got out of that some pretty good evidence that foster parents are sometimes used as tools of the social worker to control that child. If you put a child in my house for an extended period of time and I'm responsible for giving that child food, support, emotional and physical support, I'm responsible for the psychological support of that child. That child's going to get bonded to me, or at least get the idea that that child's going to do and say what I want the child to do and say.
Right.
And I think this is a tool. I don't know if it's spoken or unspoken that social workers use. And this is a case I'm going to be doing in a few weeks. I have a case where I represent the dad, and the child is in a foster home with a woman who is friends, allegedly, with the mom and the dad. Mom and dad aren't together anymore. But I got some information from the minor's attorney that foster parent is talking about the case with the foster child, is influencing or at least trying to influence what the child is going to tell the judge and her own attorney and the social worker.
That's not fair.
Right. Now, the problem for the foster parent and the social worker is that this child is a teenager. She's not 5 years old. So it seems like the more that they try to push and influence her, the more she's reporting it to her attorney. And her attorney is kind of upset about it because apparently the foster parent is looking at all communications, texts and or emails between the attorney and the child, which is supposed to be,
Confidential.
confidential. And then allegedly reporting that information back to the mother, who she's really friends with,
Stop.
and back to the social worker. And she keeps telling everyone that she wants to be moved in place with relatives. And, because of this case, it's a weird fact pattern, but because of this case, basically the social workers don't want her moved. And of course, the foster parent doesn't want her moved. And we're trying to get the child with relatives, some paternal relatives.
How
So,
long has she been away from the relatives, the relatives?
well, the child was living with the father and had frequent contact with the paternal relatives. And I think she was removed in July. And what happened, my client agreed to place the child with this family friend who he thought was neutral. but was only acting neutral so that he would agree, and not object to the child not being placed with relatives from the very beginning of the case.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I tell people, and it's hard for them to believe sometimes, but a lot of these cases are won and lost by things that happen outside the court, outside the courthouse. Relationships are developed, influences are, you know, um, put upon children. It's just, if you're taking care of a child, you have great influence over that child and what they say or believe. Problem is sometimes you get a child that's too old to succumb to those influences and will always speak his or her mind. And that's what I'm hoping will happen in this case, that the child comes to court and gets on the stand and explains to the judge what's actually been happening,
Well,
right?
my opinion is she's probably not going to be able to do that right away because she's going to be surrounded by a whole bunch of people. And is the foster dad going to be there?
No, the way it works in LA County now is that if you testify as a child, you can testify in the chambers of the judge with only the attorneys there.
Okay.
So the parents, and then the foster parents aren't even allowed to come in if somebody objects because they're not a party to the case. Sometimes that rule is followed, sometimes it's not. But in this particular case, since someone is saying that the foster parent is trying to unduly influence the child, I don't think the judge would allow them, the foster parent, to be in the courtroom when the child testifies.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And do you have proof that she is, does she want to be with the foster dad or does she want to be placed with, okay. So are you her, attorney?
No, I
No.
represent her father.
Okay. Oh, her biological father or foster dad? Biological father?
Father,
Okay,
bio
father.
dad,
I'm sorry. I am. Yeah,
bio
it's hard
dad.
for me. Bio dad. Okay. Um, Me personally, in my opinion, with this is I am who her attorney is before she even goes out to talk to you. I would have her sit down with her attorney and if you and have her discuss what she wants to do because what she wants to do is what she wants to do. Nobody else can tell her what she wants to do and then she wouldn't
Right,
be influenced by the foster dad or anybody, you know what I mean? So she's not scared because a lot of times we are scared and terrified if the other person's in the room or something and we know they're listening or something because then you'll get this look or something, that and then you get scared and then you get home, you go home and then you're beaten. You know what I mean? Like
right.
I'm just so yeah, that's what my personal opinion is. And like I also have
You
a
know, a lot.
sorry, go ahead.
I think it's hard for a lot of judges to believe or accept what you just said. That you go to court, and if you say the wrong thing, according to the foster parent or the social worker, that there's actual retaliation against you,
Yeah,
physical, emotional, psychological. And I don't know if it's hard for judges to believe it because if they do, what does that say about our neat, tidy little system of justice?
there is no justice.
Right. If I'm a judge, do I really want to admit that?
Well,
You know,
if you're
when it comes down to it, I mean, it's a multi-billion dollar thing going on here, these CPS cases. And they're supposed to be done for the best interests of the child. And if you get a child coming in and saying, "Hey, if I tell you the truth, my foster parent's going to retaliate against me," what does that mean about our system?
it's broken.
Right. And here's the other thing. There's a relationship, an unspoken relationship between parents and foster parents. I mean, excuse me, between foster parents and social workers. And I learned this early on. Foster parents generally, not all the time, but generally, are professional foster parents, meaning that's how they make a living.
Yeah,
Where
but
do they where do they get their foster children from? The social worker. So is the foster parent going to do and say things to please the social worker?
of
So
course.
so they keep getting foster kids.
But that's okay. So you state that right, foster kids, right? So my understanding is like this, right? When a parent is trying to get foster kids, that means they're, and this is where I have a huge problem with it, is because they want to keep getting foster kids. Like, that's not fair to us as foster kids, because they're not wanting to adopt us. Do you see, get what I'm saying? We're looking at it as, okay, so a foster parent gets a foster kid, right? But then the foster kid starts acting up because they want a younger one, because they don't have control over them. Like you said, you get older, and then say, okay, we can't handle these foster kids, so can I have the next foster kids? And that's what's not fair to us, because we don't have a voice and we don't have a choice in that matter,
Right.
because in other cases, they're the ones are abusing us, and we don't have a case in it. And instead, they're manipulating the system and turning it around, saying we're the problem, when really they're the problem, and they shouldn't be a foster parent to begin with, because all they're using that money for is to pay their rent, to pay their mortgage, or to pay whatever they want. And in the long run, they're not even using that money to benefit us. They're saying, oh well, we have to raise you kids, and we're not getting paid enough to take care of you, or and that already we're like, we're the problem, we're the issue. So it's like, no matter if you're a judge or not, the system was created before I got here, and I'm dealing with the system. So I know when the system was first started with the orphanage trades back in the 1900s, with the orphanage trade when it was in New York, when there was 16,000 foster kids that were homeless. I know the whole story and where it all started from. And then I also have I also have a story from what happened to me with my two children that were taken away from me. And I did everything I was supposed to do. I was homeless, and I got sober out in the streets of Rancho Cordova, homeless, and I got sober. I've not heard one single case ever have that. I ended up going to Mercy Perinatal. I ended up graduating the program. And then CPS decided to keep my case open for which other standing, I don't know why. But then on December 29th, 2008, a warrant was issued for my arrest, and I had no idea what the warrant was for. I get out 2 days later. They say, Joy, let us know what's going on. And by then, my daughter Angel and is not having it. She's so mad, right, and upset right now. But they could have stayed with my mom, because that's where they were with. There was no problem. They should have never been put in. Me knowing the system now, it was all about money. But on December 31st, 2008, I got out of jail, and all they needed was probation didn't have proof that I did my drug diversion program through CPS, and that's all I had to do. Well, then I find out from CPS that I can't go home, because then my kids can't go, won't be returned to my mom, and they switch social workers on me. So from January to February, I'm homeless out in the streets. I have no idea what's going on. And then February comes around, I still don't know it's gone. So now all I have to do is show probation that I did my program through CPS, but now CPS is coming up with all these rules. Now I have no social work the whole time I'm going to court, and they violate my rights. They say they terminated my rights when I didn't even know I had any. And from then on, I basically lost my kids for no reason. And then 4/30/2010, my case is closed through probation, and I never got my kids back. And I already graduated a program. I did everything I was supposed to do. And the only thing I could think of is because I didn't know the law at the time. And they took advantage of me because I grew up in the system. And now that I know, and I've had to go through so many years knowing what they did wrong, and my parental rights were violated, the state's rights were violated, federal rights were violated. They didn't do what they're supposed to do. And then now my daughter's 18 and 17, and I find out that she's been molested. I mean, raped in the foster home. There's been social worker cases on this. She was raped by her foster sister and raped by her foster sister's, adopted sister's boyfriend, and he's in prison. Prison now. And then now her adopted father doesn't even care about her, doesn't do anything. So now here, me being as a child being a child growing up in the system, me now having the system turn their back on me and violate my rights and not having a voice, and then me having to see this go through my daughter and not understanding why she she's mad at me now because I'm not where I should be, and all this stuff because of what happened to us. And now she doesn't have a voice, and now she's struggling out there. And it's like, to me, it's like, when is there justice in the system? When is there time to say, you know what, right is right and wrong is wrong? And when is it my turn to fight for what they did? People just want me to give up, but what they did was wrong. I had to be homeless out in the streets of Rancho Cordova when I've never been out in the streets of Rancho Cordova by myself. And I had so many bad things happen to me where the only thing that kept me alive was God. And and then for people to use the system, and the social workers know what the law is, and the attorneys know what the law is, and for them to violate those, I just don't understand. How is that fair? How is that fair to us that have been brought up in this messed up system, and then has the system turn around and take my kids away because they were under 4 years old, because the system got $100,000 for each kid that's under 4 years old. That was just CPS. And then the adoption agency gets money, and then the foster parents get money, which is called the Adoption Assistance Program. So it's like, I know so much about it, but there needs to be justice in it. And I know it's a billion or $1 trillion operation, but it needs to stop, because our lives matter. We matter. I matter. And there's so many times where I just wanted to give up because of me just not wanting to be here anymore. And I know people that have committed suicide and that have given up, and it's just not fair. And so that's why I'm like so glad that I finally got to get my voice out there, because I have proof of every single thing that I have done to complete foster care. I have proof of me having my clean test. I have proof of every single thing that I've done. And then the fact to turn around is that I have to learn what my rights are. I have to learn what was done wrong to me. That's not fair. It's not fair to anybody. You know what I mean? Like, I have pictures of me when I was with my girls. I was bonded with them, and they were perfect. We were perfect. And then for them to destroy that bond because they wanted them is so messed up.
Were your children adopted?
They ended up getting adopted, yes.
Do you have any contact with them?
I do now, when they're 18 and 17, but um my daughter's confused. My daughter Angel's confused. She doesn't know why the system's not she doesn't know why it's not working out for her. She doesn't know, like, she doesn't think anybody cares about her. She doesn't know why I can't be there like I should be. And I'm just like, hold on, baby girl, I'm gonna get her voice out there, and then I'll be able to be there for you like I should be. Because it's hard to be a foster kid around everybody else that you feel is normal, that have had a mom and dad, and that don't know what it feels to be taken away and not know you're around strangers your whole entire life, and then to be lied to in your foster home like my kids were. They had no idea that what was going on, that they're being lied to, and then having to prove that, hey, this was normal, you were normal, you were happy, there was nothing wrong, there's no reason why they should have been taken away, no reason, but lied to, saying I was a drug addict, I did this. But no, I did everything I was supposed to do. Everything I was supposed to do, because of a warrant through probation is the reason why CPS took my kids away. And then they didn't give them back to me, but then there's proof of my case closing in 2010. That's not justice. And I'm just supposed to give up and say, hey, you took my kids and now they're 18 and 17, but I'm not supposed to do anything about it. No, no, I'm going to do something about it. And that's why I'm here.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have Grace call you about having you maybe be a guest again, and perhaps even having your own show on my platform to talk to prior foster children, um, because it is a big problem and nobody's talking about it. Can you imagine if we all acknowledge the fact that foster care has so many pitfalls? It basically is the linchpin of the whole system. The whole system would collapse if we admitted to ourselves all the problems in foster care.
You know, I
One of
don't.
the one of
Sorry,
the
go ahead.
things I want to talk to you about next time is this connection between foster care and human trafficking. A lot of people know about it and don't want to acknowledge it. It's like, oh, it's not my problem. Or I don't want to talk about it because what does that mean about our system, about what we actually do with these children? You know, it's really interesting that we do everything to protect them from their parents, but we don't do enough to protect them against the foster care system,
Right.
including foster parents, including foster parents' relatives, including foster parents' children. This whole thing about how these kids are treated, I think would be amazing.
Sorry, hold on, I'm close the door. Hold on. Sorry.
It's all right, Joy.
Sorry, somebody was walking in, and my dog, she's
I'm I'm gonna I'm going to end the show now, but I'm going to have Grace talk to you about coming back on and perhaps us working together to try to make changes in the foster care system. How does that sound?
A dream come true.
Alrighty. So be watching for my email or Grace's email and or call, and we're going to have you on again, okay?
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing with us this evening, all right?
All right.
All right. Good night, Joy. You know, before I leave, I didn't realize this, but I got a lot of questions in the chat. Let me address some of those questions right now. Gav says, may the Heavenly Father bless you. Oh, these are just comments. I thought they were a question. Stacy Macy says, I spoke to you almost 2 years ago, and we are finally able to adopt our granddaughter 2 years later. Yeah, sometimes the journey. Okay, there aren't any other questions, just a lot of comments. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for watching. You can watch this replay. It'll be on 8 platforms, including YouTube and Facebook. And we're going to have office hours hopefully tomorrow and, more often and more frequent. So get your questions ready. Contact Grace at vincentwdavis.com if you'd like for her to read your questions and for me to answer them if you want to join us live on one of the live streams. Alrighty, folks. Good night and thank you again.
Hi, I'm Attorney Vincent Davis, and I've been fighting CPS for over 35 years. Through my years of experience, I've gained invaluable insights that I'm ready to share with you. If you're a parent or a caregiver or a relative, we need to talk. I'm offering a new opportunity for you to speak with me on a one-on-one basis. Ask me any questions, and I'll provide you with the insight you need to take steps in your CPS case. Members get everything they need to gain confidence and the knowledge that they need to support necessary to truly fight back. And as a special thank you for attending, I have a special offer just for you. Don't miss out. Join us, and let's take that next step together. I'll see you at the question and answer event.